Hello, Joe, and to everybody at the CASE Regular Giving Conference 2015, where I hope you're all having an absolutely brilliant time. I'm Paul Amadi, and I reluctantly accepted Joe's challenge to fast forward into the future 30 years to 2045 to bring back to you some insights on what was happening in the fundraising environment. I say reluctantly because my two boys are now exactly the same age as me, and any chance I had of getting them to tidy their room has long since gone. But it was with some trepidation that I accepted Joe's challenge, but now I'm here, I'm having an absolutely whale of a time, because 2045 has been totally transformed by developments in technology, and it makes it a great time to be around. So, admittedly, global warming is still a challenge. There's still no cure for the common cold. And the X Factor is still being broadcast. Can you believe that? But those minor irritations aside, technology has certainly improved everybody's quality of life. So, for instance, after I file this report, I'm going to go back to work now and make a couple of calls to people in New York and other glamorous places such as that. But I'll be doing that by dint of a chip which is implanted under my skin. Not going to show you where, Joe. And that's because wearable technology has advanced 10,000-fold. I'm really enthralled to this technology because if nothing else, it means that I don't have to worry about losing my mobile phone, which I always was doing in 2015. And straight after I complete that piece of work, I'm then going to be served a perfectly chilled pina colada by my own personal robot. And that's because robotics have advanced, again, more than we could ever have imagined back in 2015. And what I will say about that pina colada is it's served by a robot with a nicer temperament than my wife. I'll leave it there. Anyway, so massive advances in technology, which have really improved the quality of life. But they've also certainly transformed the fundraising environment. Not to say that that would have been difficult, because I'm speaking to you now that you're back in 2015, whereas we all know the fundraising environment at that particular time was very challenged, mainly by the Everington Review and the collapse of public confidence in giving. Interesting, as by way of a bit of a digression, historians today are still trying to unpick what Everington was trying to achieve by setting up the Fundraising Preference Service. So, 2045, 30 years on from 2015, the fundraising landscape has been completely transformed. And Joe, you've asked me to file back to you and let you know what's hot and what's not, so that your guests and the people who are listening to you speak will be better informed about future trends, and then they're able to prepare for it. Lots going on. I'll just highlight three that might be of interest. The first big change that is very noticeable is that we are now living in a completely cashless society. So cash as a form of transaction has completely disappeared, and it's all about payments using, again, this chip under my skin and using all available terminals, which are placed everywhere. So in my car, in shops, outside of shops. Now, the more progressive fundraising charities have used and exploited this technology by putting these terminals wherever they're able to convey their messaging. So, like I said, in shops, on street furniture such as lamps, lampposts, even postbox, and even anywhere where anybody is pausing for a moment. So, for instance, public convenience. So, it really does mean that charities are living the whole notion of pausing for a cause. So, cashless society, that's the first development that I wanted to feed back to you. Probably no surprise to you. The second major development, probably a little bit more serious, is the fact that medical technology has advanced so much that now people are living to over 150 or sometimes 160 years of age. So this has totally revolutionised retirement planning. People now expect to retire aged 100, certainly no earlier than that. And that means that they've 50 years of provision to ensure that they're able to prepare and take care of their costs. This has led to the absolute decline of legacy fundraising as a form of income generation. And ultimately, we're now in a situation in which an income stream, which in 2015, in your time, was worth 1.25 million to the sector, now basically doesn't exist. The third major trend, and something that potentially people wouldn't have expected, again refers to the field of medical science. And now we're in a situation in which all of the major health conditions that focus our minds at the moment, so cancer, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and even some of the neurological conditions such as multiple sclerosis, they're cured. Now, the diagnosis doesn't have to be as terrifying as it is back in 2015 because there are therapies that can address this. But science has gone beyond that now to the point where we're now in a situation in which people, by means of DNA testing and gene splicing and gene identification, are now able to know whether they're at risk of developing certain conditions. And fundraisers, being the good folks that we are, have totally exploited that technology. And so now, supporter acquisition looks like sending home DNA testing kits to groups who are at risk, and particularly younger people, because the idea is to get them young, and to get them to take these DNA testing kits and to identify what conditions they're at risk of getting. And thereafter, to build into that a fundraising ask based on the premise that if you know you're at risk of developing a condition, you're more likely to respond to an organisation that is developing therapies that will help you respond or prevent you getting that. So that's the key development, I would say, going forward. Now, this has been absolutely brilliant for health charities. As I said, they're now using it as a major means of acquisition. If you're not in the health field, not so much good news. But actually, I have to say that that's not my problem. My problem at the moment is fixing to get that next pina colada. So on that note, this is the end of my report. I'm filing off now, but I will say, Joe, I'm in no rush to come back. So please, if I have the opportunity of staying in 2045, I hope you indulge me. Good luck with the rest of the conference. Signing off, Paul.